So thank you. Oh, good. We are in YouTube. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, and I'm sweating like a pig. Okay, guys. So, thank you guys for the people that are here and still here. Thank you. Let's see. Continuing with what I was explaining just before, why necessarily masculinity is seen as something bad, as something terrible, or ghastly, as in any different way. And of course, to address any problem, we normally use the Aristotelian method, which is, try to uh, go and divide it in different pieces, and maybe that way we could actually see or any possible solution to resolve this question, because obviously this is a question that concerns me, as I am apparently a man. And we start thinking, what is masculinity? What means to be a man? A man is someone that has obviously the masculine gender of being a man. And of course, many people today will say that being a man is a social construct, and that is not something that is supposed to be wrong. But then again, aren't all we humans social constructs? Humanity in itself, isn't it? Isn't humanity a social construct in itself? We are social. In fact, society exists because we are humans. And saying that men or women are social constructs, like oxymorons to me, because everything is a social construct. Even defining colors is a social construct. Even defining any type of law represents obviously a social construct. So it's quite dismissive to say that, yeah, being a man is just a social construct. But still, it is normally seen by people like, yeah, men are the most responsible for most evil in the world. I remember seeing this crazy statistic once that I was laughing about it. This crazy statistic that once I saw, that says something like this. It was basically the argument in which it is justified, the existence of the concept of um, fe- uh, femicide. What is a femicide? Basically, is type of violence that leads to death from any man towards women. And the main argument was basically that for every three women, there is one that receives or is victim of any type of violence, this type of violence that leads to femicide. I don't remember exactly where I saw this statistic, but I saw that the argument that is one of the main ones that is used to define the concept or the necessity of fighting against it, which is obviously a necessary cause. I'm not trying to underinterpret or misplace the right position that the movement to benefit, in this case, every oppressed place of our societies, are constantly working towards. Uh, Not trying to put down any type of emancipatory movement towards women, nothing like that. I'm just speaking about the argument that was made based on this statistic. And I think that the argument has a problem of the way in the way in which it was made. Because I mean, if you have to flip the same situation around, if you have to read the statistic that says how many men have been victim of violence from other men, I guess every man in the world have had at least once being victim of violence. I'm not laughing because I think it's right, all right? I'm laughing because it's sad, so I prefer not to cry. And it's true. I think you probably say that I'm generalizing, but I guess every man my age um, at least once, being raised as I was raised, and being, I mean, I believe I consider myself a common type of man here in Latin America regarding the type of salary that I am capable of earning. So if that's the case, I believe I think in my time I saw quite a lot of violence, and it was not really heavy, gruesome violence because I never lived, let's say, under a war zone. But I saw my good deal of violence because back then culture was like that. It was, the time in which parents thought that discipline was something that was supposed to be reinforced with some violence, and some parents were a little bit tougher on that. And you know, we know that that was the time. We don't hate our parents for that, but we saw, we lived this thing, and apart from that, we suffered the type of violence that every male that studied in any type of public or even private institution, as long as it is not, super rich, but the common ones, the ones that most people go to, every any educational institution, any men that are possibly my age, about 40, 40 over 40, even less than that, have known of any type of violence, have received at least one type of violence. I know that. I know that's a type of fact that is undeniable. I don't think that using that argument to say that there is such a thing as uh, okay, it's not femicide. In this case, will be male side. That's not justifiable. The word doesn't really point anything. It's terrible as an argument. It just makes me think that, in a way, men is the most horrible gender alive, since it's really, really awful towards women, but it's incredibly, magnificently awful towards itself, towards men. Yeah, it is easy, it's very easy, I will say, to justify any type of violence towards men. I mean, you just have to watch, let's say, if you play in YouTube, uh, bloopers, sport bloopers, and mostly you will see men getting their faces, their asses beaten for some reason, and it will look fun. It will look funny. It will look funny, and I'm not proud to say that I have watched some of those videos and laughed. But then you have the ones in which you cringe, that are the ones in which women are the ones receiving these blows of reality. It's not so fun. It looks painful. And I'm not saying that I'm extremely, uh, let's say, a pacifist or a pleasing person towards women. I just simply say that, as I see women being involved in a type of accident in which they suffer wounds, heavy wounds, I just remember my grandma and my mom and any other woman that I care for, and I really don't like that type of things happening to them. My grandma, for instance, I remember she told us this story about how she had a miscarriage once, as she was pregnant with one of my uncles, an uncle that never got the chance to be born. She was pregnant with my uncle. She was in a bus, um, and she was coming back home from the market. She had a box full of vegetables on the under the seat that was across where she was sitting, and I guess she was sitting near the exit door because obviously for the box, being pregnant and all that. And back in her time, it was not really strange that you see pregnant women doing all the sort of chores like those. Anyway, the bus seemed to have hit a bump, and that one propelled my grandma all the way towards the ceiling of bus, and then you know squashing my uncle. That was terrible. And thinking about this just makes me think that it's not cool when men see women receiving any type of violence. Now, is that something related to type of masculine toxicity from my side, like trying to protect or being overprotective of women? I probably believe that, yeah, maybe, but why is that bad? Why is that bad being concerned for people that we think we care for? And at the same time, why not caring so much for people like, our own? At least not in a way in which we see a man getting their face smashed because, you know, he was drunk and fell down. It's funny all the time. Why is that acceptable? Why is that so easily forgivable and laughable and not the opposite? I guess we're seeing too much into this idea of trying to villainize stuff, villainize ourselves, villainize our gender. Everything is a social construct, as we said before. Uh, we all agree upon the rules that we use to define our language. And if not, then we wouldn't be able to communicate. And of course, some people get offended by the way we communicate because they choose to. And some people are definitely offensive in the way they communicate. So, what can we do to really not fall onto these type of provocations, onto these situations that make us um, doubt about, the way some of the forms in which we identify ourselves. Again, speaking about me as a man, consider myself most of the time a person that is seen as a possible victimary. And I guess every man can do the same. I saw this joke uh, some time ago, and then I saw it today on Instagram. It was this guy that was describing how a girl, a lady, approached him when he was taking care of his cousin at a mall. Right, his little cousin was, I don't know, let's say a baby where, uh, no, a baby, possibly 4 years old, etc. So someone approached him, and this lady, obviously mature enough, a lady, said, sorry, can I, get close to the little baby? And then she said something like, it was a cute baby. It was quite a looker. Save it for her when he grows up. She's gonna come back for him to marry him. Something like that. And of course, the joke was, and I'm sorry that I'm killing it for you. The joke was, what if we challenge every man here in this room and do the same? Just go to one place, one mall, one school, and see a mom carrying a little daughter and say, hey, please, your daughter is beautiful, save her for a little bit, but when she grows up, because I'm going to come back and pick her up. There was a time that men did that. That men used to marry really young women, and we read about this, and we all cringe about this, and we all think that's awful. In some countries, maybe that is still a situation that happens, but it's not really the common thing today. It is really not, and is widely frowned upon, and is widely seen as an awful thing. If that's the case, we can definitely say that most men do not address women in such way as objectivized as um, a person that you marry to because of some sort of deal, some sort of objective, some sort of object. No, that's not really what happens. Today, you really cannot say that women do not have a level participation in every decision that is taken by society. Maybe statistics will try to prove that still power balance between the quantity of men that represent power on any organization are bigger or higher than the quantity of women. I don't know exactly how that works, statistically speaking, but I can speak for my own experience as a human being that has been working for more than 20 years. It's an even thing. It is an even thing in terms of there is a bunch of women work in the workforce. Some of them are working in the same level that you are. Many of them are your bosses. It is true that in some occasions you see more men leading than women, but you always see women even up in terms of the type of authority that they can display in any organization. So, at least in the Western world, I think it's pretty much the same thing. And such the case of women being in the same position in every case than men. However, there are certain things in which women are not treated equally as men are, and that is socially acceptable. In such was the case of the example that I did at the beginning about the type of let's say things that people can pass on, allow women to do and men not to. And I can give a really practical example. Me, in my day job, working in a school, I know for sure that the quantity, sorry, the likability, the propensity of sanctions that a male student will get in comparison to a female student is so high. And for pretty much doing the same type of things. Eh, some people argue the total opposite, but I've seen it in years working as a school teacher that for every possible infraction that a student can do, a male student is more likely to receive um, any type of sanction than a woman student, a female student. And I don't know why is that. It is a thing that it still happens. If you define that as toxic masculinity, then I would say that is not necessarily the type of, let's say, pressure, because that's how you can see some sort of power or authority. It's like you can add pressure. It's not a type of pressure that men are doing in favor of themselves. It seems to be that is quite the opposite. Is like the likability of men of being judged terribly. Like We are constantly being expected to be judged as, you know, doing terrible stuff. And I just simply will give you an example of, let's say, what's more dangerous, a woman that have been diagnosed with violent schizophrenia, or a man diagnosed with violent schizophrenia. I guess most people run away from that man. And I'm really not trying to put down women in any case, but most shootings, crazy shootings that you hear not only in the U.S., everywhere in the world, are done by men. And again, the statistics. I'm not really lying. I don't want to favor statistics. I'm just simply stating that it's true. It's just there's a lot of men that do a lot of bad stuff. But the problem is that we are only two types of humans in this world, men and women. And if we have men doing uh, but a lot of bad stuff, more men than women, it's just because apparently there is a propensity for us to be seen as the evildoers, though we are evildoers. Everyone is an evildoer, but perception tends to favor some more than others. And we need to understand that. So, toxic masculinity seems to be some sort of put down, some sort of detriment factor. And it's crazy that it happens, it still happens even today, when men today are definitely not the same as men were in the generation of my grandparents. I mean, come on. In the generation of my grandparents, it was a common thing that you hear about violence, any type of um, awful aggression between men and women, particularly mostly acceptable by society that, some men beat their wives. That was a thing. In the generation of my parents, that was a crime, but still a thing. In my generation, that was always a crime. Always a crime. A terrible crime, in fact. There was a time, I think in my early 30s, that there were some laws that, like in my country, happened in other countries too. The perception of men in society was really, really threatening, so much that uh, certain open spaces you could see that there were numbers where to call if you saw a man misbehaving, like, let's say, using loud voice towards a woman, using lewd comments towards a woman, etc., etc., etc. I believe that's something that needs to happen if there is lack of control. But again, that's something that happens because there are people that are capable of doing that. However, I cannot really say that only men do that. Some women do that too. It's just simply not expected by society. People are not expecting to see a woman beating a guy. And in fact, when that happens, it's laughable. It's a joke. It becomes viral. And it's terrible. It's terrible that it happens. It's terrible that we accept that. Like, yeah, some dude that, was unlucky to be beaten by an exceptional woman. Today, I guess there's a lot of cases of exceptional women. I could say also that it's not that a lot of men are really capable of beating anyone. Again, if you simply consider the fact that all my generation, all my life, in my over 40 years of life, most messages I received from society, from authorities, is that a boy, then a man, I was always capable of doing something awful and terrible. Therefore, I needed to be aware of my actions. You know, me be wary, being sorry, people being wary of me constantly. People crossing the street when they saw me walking in front of them, and there are many different reasons why they will do that. Not only just because I'm a man, but still, that sort of things happened, and I guess it happens to many men worldwide, and possibly many men worldwide have never ever fought, or at least not fought, but beat someone at fighting. Possibly they were beaten, like I was. I've been beaten many times, and I'm proud to say that because that taught me a lot. And I guess that as every man receives any type of violence, and we learn with this violence to be careful of our actions, we are desensitized somehow when we speak about violence towards men. And I really don't applaud that because I guess we're really not resolving the problem of violence. We're just trying to see it from just the perspective of one side, and we kind of like ignore a little bit the other one. And again, I'm not claiming to say that violence towards men is not punished because that's crazy. Any type of violence, as long as it is caught and being persecuted, is obviously something that is punishable by the law. I'm speaking about the little thing, the little bullish behavior that happens in society, that is allowed to happen among friends, among people that know you. This is the type of thing that we are expected to live as men. I guess that for younger generations might be scary to know that there's gonna be one day that people will beat them and some people around them will laugh. And it scares me. Sometimes it scares me. I don't think, I don't want to be so dramatic in the matter of saying like we men are victims of the ignorance of society. I'm speaking about toxicity, the toxicity that people denounce that we have. I think that men are mostly told the wrong message here. I think that men can be better, definitely, all the time. We need to be self conscious. We allow ourselves sometimes to be aloof when it comes to our feelings and the feelings of the people around us. We need to learn from everything, including the violence that we receive, to not do it. And then again, everyone should stop being violent towards everyone. Everyone is capable of clashing with others for some reason. It's not. It's impossible not to clash against other people because you not always have the same the good day. Every day is not a good day, people. There are days and days. What if the two that are clashing have had a wrong day? It's totally justifiable that two people get on the wrong side of bed and they clash on the same thing. Both wanted to pass by the same little corner, and tragic encounter. That happens. Some people are more, you know, evil intended, ill intended than others. That's true, but you cannot really say that it's just simply toxic masculinity. It's just people. People need to stop the environment. That's it. So yeah, you can show your masculinity because you are whom you are. You are a man, and as a man, you're gonna behave as a man. But you need to be self-conscious of, your capacities as a man, and not get yourself in trouble. So that was the answer of a question that a student, really cool student of mine, asked in class, and I think it was actually a really good prompt for tonight's live. So, what do you think, guys? Any comment is welcome. Remember that we have the Speak Up Club here at letheia. Right now, operating Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesdays, 7 p.m., 19 hours, Guayaquil, and 8 p.m., which is 20 hours, New York. So you guys can calculate and see. Contact us here through A-létheia, in Instagram or in YouTube. Yeah, I'm tired. YouTube. And thank you all, the people that were with us from the beginning to the end. Have a good night, people. And let's see. First, I'm gonna close this one, which I don't know how. Okay, I'm gonna close this one now. Thank you all the comments. There were so many. In fact, hello, Raul. Raul, join us. Da, 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 da. Okay, we are closing here. Yes.